Hey everybody, GCU Bill here, and this is the final video in the series about my experience doing Research 811 at Grand Canyon University. And the grades came out today. Yay! This is a week past when the course had finished. Actually, I'm in the first full week of the new class, and I'm thrilled with how it all turned out. You never know until that last final set of scores posts, and I had that big essay assignment that had been lingering, waiting to get graded. So as you can see from the post or the grade chart, there's a little section in a tab called Grade Book that the end grade ended up being a A. Yay! So, 20 years of being out of school, you never know how it's really going to come out in the end. You take the courage, just step at the plate, and give it your best shot. And I ended up with getting 971.05 of 1,000 possible points. And that resulted in the A with a GPA now of 4.0. Yay, perfect. So now I see people post on different Facebook forums about getting 1,000 out of 1,000. That's pretty impressive. I don't know if anybody's done it in this class, but I mean, just thinking everything perfect, that's really cool. But I'm happy. 971 from my understanding from the counselor, you've got to maintain 85% all the way through. And indeed, I did that. So, woohoo, I'm in that zone. As I went along, I have been sharing that I've been logging details of the course, just in case you're considering the course or you're in the course, and what are the numbers I'm putting up in terms of study time, because I've been taking, crazy detail about how I've spent all my time. So, a little logbook. I've shown it. This is actually the end pages of it. I've shown it as I've gone along, done the computations, but I looked at the other video to remind myself of what I said I would talk about, and I saw the handwritten stuff I did, because I didn't want to invest time like trying to set up spreadsheets and do anything, but it's kind of hard to read everything. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've created, let me pull this up here, some spreadsheets to show how my data and time was spent. On this chart, you can see how much effort I put into each module as I went along. So you'll notice in Module 1, for example, I invested a total of 17 hours of time. Module 2 jumped up to 26.75, and in the video you know the reasons why. You can see Module 5 was a big hitter, and of course Module 7 was the biggest hitter of all, and that was the final big essay redo thing. So I guess it makes sense it'd be that much time. GCU shares in the doctoral program that on average you will spend 20 hours a week, or you should. And I don't have like a time restriction. I can work as many hours as I want on this or not. And as I went through all this, I studied when I wanted to. I did what I thought was necessary. I didn't go overboard as it related to this coursework. And I ended up, without trying to hit anything, I ended up with 18.3 hours per module. Really happy with it. I mean, that's kind of neat, right? It comes close to their magic number of 20. Now, that isn't to say that I didn't spend more time on other stuff, but that was outside of the course. And for completeness, I will share that looking at my diary that I kept, I spent a total in those 8 weeks of modules 220 hours focused on my doctoral work. That is the course and then extra stuff. So if you put that in perspective, I spent 146 hours on the class, and then the next 60, 70, whatever was on something else. And that something else composed of two things. Something else was creating lots of annotated entries in my domains annotated bibliography. I had to get my articles in and read them, empirical research. And I ended up with 21 annotations by the time the course ended. So that's fantastic because I know I'm supposed to have like 25 by the third course. So I'm in really good shape on that, and that's going to help with the next class I have to take. Then the other thing I did was I started working ahead on the next class. So once I got to the very last week of the course, I started reading, because I got access to the class, I started reading what the material was. So I spent about 9 hours on that. So in any case, let's go on. Another chart that may be of interest is this one. Now, as you look at this, let me show you. So in the corner, you see a pie chart, and those numbers down below the pie chart are showing in color based on the module. You can see how much time from a proportional graph or proportional pie chart perspective, how much time I spent on different things. This lines up with the previous chart I showed you. Now, the graph to the right of that is interesting. This was how much time I spent in each module per week. Now, the distinction here that I'm making is that if you look at the 14th of May, you'll notice there are three colors. Well, if you go down to the bottom where the legend is, you can see it says Series 1 is in that blue. Well, that means that week I spent, and you can see it, 17 hours on the blue thing. That's Module 1 work. And then the next color above that, kind of that tan kind of color, which was the Module 2 work. So in the week of Module 1, you can see the next chunk I spent was on Module 2. And then finally at the very top of that, where it's up to almost 37 hours now when they're stacked, you can see it's like a dark brown. Well, if you look at my legend, that's Module 8 work. And if you've watched the videos, you know I started working on those annotations early on because it was pointed out that that would be a big task in the end and don't get caught without having done the work. So in the first week, I actually did Module 1, some of Module 2, and then some of Module 8. You go to the next week, that is the 21st of May, and you'll notice three colors there as well. Well, the color of that tan, there it is again, that's Module 2. And then a new color, that's that gray. Well, that's Module 3 work. You can see how much time I spent on Module 3, and then I still spent time on Module 8. There's the dark brown. Next week, 28 May, gray, that's Module 3, yellow, Module 4, working ahead, and then a tiny bit of that brown. Now the next week, by the time I got there to that 4th of June week, I had already finished all of Module 8 stuff. So I didn't have to work on it anymore. And you can see where I spent my time. A little bit on Module 4, but a whole bunch on that Module 5. And that was that first essay that had to come out. So it makes sense. And again, me working ahead. I was always ahead, always ahead. The numerics are down below on the breakouts. You see it in this Excel spreadsheet I just kind of snipped and put onto the slide for you. You can see the actual numbers and which week I did different things. So in any case, I hope that helped you maybe in some way as you check out and decide how you want to spend your time. That was the way I did it. And obviously it worked for me. An A is an A, so good enough by me. Could I have done more? Maybe in some areas I could have spent a little more time, but overall I'm so very happy with my grade. I'm mostly happy though with the feedback I actually got from the professor. So the grade is great, and I'm so proud of myself about that. But it was really the feedback of the professor that makes all the difference, because his insights and commentary and feedback on especially the essay assignments, helped guide me into better understanding this macro process of synthesis that's been new to me, and quite a challenge. It's tricky trying to get that new view. Maybe not for you, but it was for me. So in any case, that's how my time was broken out. Over the course of time, or that first course, I had been working on my workspace, and I thought it would be good to show you how it ended up in the end, because maybe you'll see something that you like that I've done. So here is a photo of my workspace. I had alluded to in the very, 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 very first video, pretty close to it, about getting a whiteboard and a tack board, a cork board, and stuff like that. And now you can see where it is. It actually is right there behind my computer. You can see Hope the Antelope down there in the corner. As part of my celebration of passing that first course, I told myself, well, actually, it was a celebration of completing the first course. I assumed I passed. I had to wait for the grades, but that's Hope the Antelope. Hope the cheerleader. So when I need to get a good quick smile or I'm getting bummed out, writing an essay kind of thing, which did happen more than once in that first course, like, that sucks. But now I have Hope the antelope to cheer me on. Um, you can see that there's the diary, of course. There's an external backup. I think that's really smart to do. I know that you can store stuff online, and I do. I leverage the cloud storage that the school provides, but I also thought it'd be wise to have my own external. So I saved to my computer, I saved to that external device, and of course I saved to the cloud. The upper left area of the corkboard, you can see my recorded course list. There's a long way to go. That's 3 to 4 years of work up there, and now I get to tick the first one. Yay me! I got my ID in during this first course, so there it is, pinned up on the wall with my number. And then I created a piece of paper that, based on the professor's feedback to me, direct feedback, and things that, well, it was always direct, but like, he'd make comments to my discussion posts, public posts, and in my work itself. I had pulled out three really important things for me. I mean, there's a million things to learn, but I picked out three, and I put them on that piece of paper, and I keep it so every time I look to my left, I can't help but see the critical things that I need to remember. And for me, the things are about how to properly do annotations, the um, academic arguing approach, which was interesting. He sent a link to that in one of my discussion posts. So I broke down and really focused on the elements of an academic argument, and I drew a picture for it to help remind me how it goes. And then, of course, struggling with getting the thesis statement right. I kept falling into probably my physics background into doing more of a hypothesis kind of thesis, and this was supposed to be just a direct thesis, and mine weren't so good or powerful or the right way for this program and how I'm supposed to be viewing the world. So I kept some notes that he had given me to help. So got the critical learning over there. And I guess that's about it. You can see my pennant. I got my Go GCU stuff. So let's see. I was thinking that if somebody else was watching this, what would I want to know? And that would be like, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody who's just starting the program, or at least doing the first class? Because I'm just starting the program, but I mean the first class. And the number one thing I could say, always work ahead. Don't wait till the week of. Sure, you've got to wait the week of to do the responses or the submitting homework, but do it ahead. There were many times, and I'm already seeing it in the new course, where by working ahead, elements that can help me answer things in the current week were actually revealed in the next section anyways. So by working ahead, it's like falling back and feeding my comprehension of the current week's materials. So that would be the big chunk overriding thing. Work ahead. Work ahead. So we're going to close it out, make it nice and quick. Final thoughts. I went back and then looked at those videos I shared, and one of the things I said, and I'm going to say it still holds true, is, has it been worth it? Did I get $2,000 worth of value out of that first course? And as I shared in the other one, you break that up. It's $50 a day, right? The Monday through Friday week. And the answer is absolutely still yes. There was so much I learned, and assuming I got targeted in the right direction, and I can't imagine not, I have absolutely got my money's worth, and I was more than willing to pay for the next class when I got the call from the counselor about, guess what, it's time to pay for the next class. She's a sweetheart. Absolutely did get the value, and would encourage anybody who's considering it, if you have the funds and means and you just want to improve yourself, or maybe you think it's going to help your career, or who knows what. I'm doing this for me, as I shared. I'm not really looking at it for a job position. Heck, I'm what we call semi-retired. I don't work anymore unless I'm like helping homeschool students. I teach some classes and stuff like that in advanced STEM things. I do that as a part-time thing, but I'm doing this doctorate as something for me and to challenge myself and push my mind. And could the money be spent somewhere else in my life? Sure, I could have put it into a car or something like that, but the car will fade away. I mean, eventually I will too, I guess, fade away, but I get to have this in my mind forever. And I couldn't have done what I learned in the past 8 weeks on my own as efficiently or as effectively. No way. No way. And my professor, I've been trying to hold back saying his name because, it's, I don't know if it's cool or not, but he's known as Dr. B. Awesome. It's kind of chuckling because I shared in the early videos about learning about Rate My Professor and stuff like that, because that was not out when I got my degrees. And I read people's comments about Dr. B and this or that, and then I was like, wow, man, who is this guy? I was kind of nervous, but I was like, anything else, people have opinions. Hell, read an Amazon review, and you're like, where did that come from? So I took it with a grain of salt, and I took the course, and the people who have negative comments about Dr. B, I can say that clearly it wasn't my experience. The guy was fantastic. What I would have liked is the grades a little bit sooner at the very end, but that was my issue, not his. I get excited. I turned my grade in. I wanted to see how I did on my essay, but I was grateful he took his time, reviewed my work, and um, gave him the little trophy for substantive feedback on my essay. So, Dr. B, you get to watch this. I don't know why, but Iron Man, yeah. Thank you. It was very good. So, with that, I'm going to close out this whole series on the Res-811 first course and the long journey towards Grand Canyon University PhD. I don't think I'll be doing them, this granular for the other courses. I don't know which courses I'm going to do any kinds of things on. But for the first class of the course series for my doctorate in general psychology with an emphasis in technology, learning, and psychology. Here we are. First one done. I'm all done. And I'll see you later. Lopes out.